I'm going to do a short introduction. So, for people who don't know, this is Phil. He's Philostar on Twitter. He's really smart. He, a few years back, started talking about the 4 hour work week, which is very interesting. And he actually built a quite successful, if I may say, indie hacker project on it. And now he's living from that, which I think is also really, really awesome. That's a pretty good introduction, isn't it?
Yeah, I can jump in there. Yeah, you got it right. I've been doing this for about 2 years now. So it's, I hate to do a plug straight off the bat, but it's 4 day week. And yeah, it's a job board for jobs with a 4 day work week. And I always feel sometimes I'm living in a bubble a little bit, but the 4 day week is just everywhere in my world at the moment. Seems like every company's moving to one. So there's now about 250 companies on the site, and yeah, hopefully it continues. I think it will, though. I'm
I think it's a
confident.
good thing. Your arguments for it are definitely correct in that you are actually more productive when you work less. There was this a concept, I don't remember exactly the name of it, but the concept, I think it was Parkinson's Law.
Parkinson's Law, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And if you have 5 days to do something, you're probably going to stretch it to make it 5 days. And if you have 4 days, it's
Hmm.
probably going to happen in 4 days. I kind of agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's work expands. What is it? Work expands to fill the amount of time that's allocated to it. The way I like to think about it is, if I'm revising for an exam, if I start revising maybe like 6 months before, I'll be like, yeah, having a little coffee, taking it easy, making some notes and to-do lists and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
If I give myself like 4 days or like 2 days, I'm going to be working as fast as I've ever revised. So yeah, it naturally speeds up working for whatever reason when you reduce the amount of time that you allocate to it. So I mean, the same thing happened when we went from 6 day week, which was about 100 years ago, down to five. Productivity increased, and from all the studies so far, same thing happens with the 4 day week. Yeah.
I'm happy more people do it. Yeah, as it has its benefits and it's definitely more relaxing. It gives you free time to work on other stuff that you may enjoy. Like, for example, right now I'm trying to transition into completely part time work so that I can work on this show.
I mean, like the way I like to think about it as well is you only lose 20% of your working week, but you actually gain 50% of your free time. You know, the weekend goes from 2 days to three. So it's kind of that, asymmetric gain on both sides. So 20% isn't a huge amount, and it's very easily recouped by the productivity gains and also just being smarter with your time. A lot of companies that switch to the 4 day week, they make quite a lot of changes, less meetings, shorter meetings, all the rest of it. I could keep going on.
Less meetings is always good.
Yeah.
What do you think about people? So, my opinion about what I do, where I want more free time so that I can work on other stuff, but I'm still working. I'm wondering what your opinion on that is, because my opinion is really that, okay, if I'm working on different projects, it kind of feels like I'm always refreshed because it's different skills, different concepts. It keeps me active.
I mean, to be honest with you, the main reason that I wanted to work a 4 day week in my previous job was because I want to do things on the side. I'm always doing little projects, and there's, not enough hours in the day when you're working 5 days a week. And I used to commute like 2 hours it was actually more like 3 hours per day. So you just have no time at all. So yeah, the main reason for me was actually exactly what you're talking about. It allows you to be creative and do things on the side where previous to that, forget about it. I was going to say in my last job, I worked 5 days a week, and then after about a year in the company, I just asked my boss. I was like, "Look, can I go part time? Otherwise, I'm probably going to leave." I was just very honest, and he was, to my surprise, he was fine with it. He was like, "Yeah, if you want to go 3 days a week for 60% salary, no problem. It would be more effort to recruit someone else than
Yeah.
just let you drop down." And to be honest with you, I felt as though I did almost the same amount of work in the 3 days. It was intense, the 3 days, but it was a win-win.
I'm glad that you were able to do that. Because I'm doing that right now. The
Nice.
exact same pitch is my pitch right now. Hey, I kind of want to go part time, but if I don't go part time, I have other places that want to take me part time. So like,
Yeah, it's more common than you think, and I think the best way to do it, if your company doesn't offer a 4 day week, which let's be honest, 99% don't, the best way to work is just to work for 1 year, do well as you can, and then ask to reduce your hours. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, it works.
my,
So
my company is really cool. I think they'll say yes. because we already have somebody that is on a 3 day work week, and they've been
Mm,
on like that since they came on a year ago. So I think I'll be fine.
that
I'm
helps.
good.
Yeah, should be
I'm lucky
fine.
in that way. Yo, I'm gonna stop your show for a moment. I know you're watching this. I'm hoping that you like it. And if you do like it, I'm hoping that you're willing to subscribe and like this video. This stuff takes a lot of time, and it would help me greatly if I could get more exposure for it. Thanks. See you around, and I'll let you watch. There is one question that I ask everybody that goes on this show, and that is like, if you could mention something from your childhood or your hobby, something that springs to mind immediately, instantly, like something that yells, "This is Phil."
Well, maybe not childhood. I mean, when I was a kid, so I'm from Scotland, and the stereotype is I play the bagpipes and I play golf weekend and drink whiskey. I actually did one of those three quite a while, which played golf. I loved playing golf as a kid. So when I was like from the ages of about 10 to about 16, I played golf like every other day. Now I don't play at all, but just that's what happens when you get older. And have a kid and stuff. But I would say that, and then probably the next kind of period in my life was playing poker. I played a lot of poker. That was kind of my job, or whatever you want to call it, when I was in university. It was
Oh
just a
wow!
nice little gig, just playing at the casino. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you know much about poker, but if you have an edge on your opponent, you can win. It's not like roulette where the house always wins. With poker, you can
Yeah,
actually make obviously a living out of it. So yeah, that was me for maybe the next 3 years, from 21 to 24 or something. It's fun times, but yeah, I don't get to do either of those things much anymore.
I used to play poker a bit too, but it was more like at home games.
Hmm.
We still played on money, but I wasn't that good of a player. But it inspired me to pick up this book, which I really like a lot. It doesn't really have a cover, but it says it's from Annie Duke. It's Thinking in Bets. It might be
Ah,
reversed.
okay.
I think it's a really cool book. It basically kind of mentions exactly the concept that you mentioned, where you have to think in, and you have to have an
Expect
edge.
It's so statistical, and to be honest with you, I think it really helps with business and like kind of doing side projects, because you think in bets, you think in things that have expected value. If I buy these $100 of adverts, will it return me $110? If I put this amount of time in, you just think in percentages a lot more, I think, and it makes you kind of numb, I guess, to doing some things. Like, for example, the other day I spent and this isn't meant to be a brag or anything, I don't mean it that way, but I spent $3,000 on content. So that's like SEO blog content. And I honestly think if I didn't play poker, I would never have had the guts, because it's a lot of money. It's $3,000 on just paying for someone else to write blog posts for my website. And yeah, I just think of it in the way of, well, it's $3,000, but over the course of the next 2 years, that will probably return 50,000 people to my website, or maybe more. So it's quite cheap, really. So yeah, I think poker. I actually hear this on I don't know if you listen to My First Million, but Shan
I
is all. I
do.
don't know. Yeah. He's always talking about like the types of people that do well in business are like gamers, poker players, or just like, I don't know, super intense people. And I agree. Like, he played poker, and I get
Yeah.
all the references. It just makes you think slightly different. I can't
I
explain it.
love
Just think.
I
Yeah,
love My First Million. My First
it's
Million
good.
is the reason we are using Zencaster right now. I watch every episode. I'm a huge fan.
It's good, right? They've got a great format down for sure.
Yeah.
It's changed over the years. Don't be wrong. Over more recently, they're obviously shooting for the higher numbers now. I feel the gentleman's agreement and all that sort of stuff. But fair enough, fair enough. Whatever, whatever.
I just want to do hood rat shit with my friend.
Yeah, yeah.
Speaking about numbers and thinking in numbers and percentages, you actually used to be a data scientist.
Yeah.
How did you get
So
into
that
that?
I mean, the brief, I say, I won't bore you, but I mean, I did computing science at uni, and then I worked for a couple of years to be a software developer, doing BlackBerry apps, if that shows my age. But anyway, and then after that, I had an offer to go back and do a PhD at uni, and I just jumped on it. I was like, definitely, let's do this. Long story short, that turned into me becoming a data scientist. Worked for a few years, and I don't know if it's just me, my nature, just not enjoying the 9 to 5, whatever it is, but I just didn't really enjoy it after a couple of years. I mean, obviously, it's a great industry to be in, a lot of potential, good money, all the rest of it. But you end up spending a lot of your time in Excel spreadsheets. That's the kind of raw truth of being a data scientist. There's a lot of data processing, data cleaning. People think it's like building ChatGPT and building all these crazy complex models. Most of the time, it's like filtering bad rows from a database. There's a lot of that. I don't want to like I don't want to make it sound miserable because it's not. There's a lot of good, challenging things within data science, but at the same time, yeah, I just kind of I've always wanted to do my own thing, so that's kind of how I transitioned out of it. I may go back one day. Who knows?
Is that maybe the difference between data engineering and data science, and the fact that a lot of times, if you're a data science, you're kind of both.
Yeah, you end up being both in some ways. I mean, engineering obviously is more, I would say, technical, more kind of computing science based, whereas you can be a data scientist and have literally pretty much no programming skills, and to some extent, a lot of people who get into data science, they are more like statistics, maths background. They've maybe done a little bit of Python or R, but they're not like software developers. Whereas data engineers isn't like building all the data pipelines, databases, all that sort of stuff. So it's a bit different, but yeah, data science is classically a generalist role. There's a lot of things you have to know. That was maybe one thing I guess I didn't like about it. Maybe, yeah, you have to know a lot.
So you finished, like you figured out data science is not for you, but how did you make the move out of that? How did you decide on 4-hour workweek.io?
hmm
And were there maybe any other failed attempts before that? How did you make the
Oh
move
yeah.
from being an employee to being a full-time indie hacker, which is what I'm gonna call your role, but it might like a different nomenclature?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, first of all, were there any failed projects? Oh, so many. Like, I would say I've done maybe like 15 projects over the years, and maybe like only three have worked out kind of well. I know with doing startups and projects like this, it is a low percentage game. Most people, even like the Peter Levels of the world and all that sort of thing, who have so many projects that have done well, he's done like 50 projects and maybe like seven of them have worked. It's difficult, damn hard. So don't expect your first one to work, would be my recommendation. So how did it work? I worked as a data scientist. As I said, I asked to drop down to 3 days a week. And the reason I did that was also because in my spare time, I launched this 4dayweek.io, which had a different name initially, but I just been a one-page landing page. It just described what it was going to be. It didn't have anything of substance. There was nothing on it you could really do. It was just like, fake images of job adverts at companies that might exist. um, and I had an enter your email kind of part. I put it on Hacker News, and then within like 2 days, I had like 300 signups or something, which was like I knew that was like, whoa, this is kind of much better than I thought it was going to go. So then maybe a couple of weeks later, I asked my boss to drop down to 3 days a week, and that just allowed me to slowly transition to get a little bit of revenue coming in as well, although it was very small to begin with. I think I sold my first job advert, I think it was like $300, and that was after maybe like 6 months. So it wasn't like straight out the gates making money. But once I got that first 300, then there was another 400 like a week later, and then it just kind of dribbled, and it was feast and famine, to be honest with you. It wasn't like there was some months after that I probably made like close to zero, but I knew that there was a demand for it and it was heading in the right direction. So I said, you know what, if I'm not going to do this now, I'm never going to do it. So I handed my notice in and left almost exactly 1 year today, actually. Now I look at you. But yeah, I would recommend that approach of just scaling into it because, the chances are it's not going to work out. So try and get your first sale at a minimum, I would say, before you make the leap,
I've
unless
heard,
you've got a lot of, yeah.
I've heard this advice before of, hey, maybe keep your job until this thing becomes sustainable. And it
Yeah.
seems like very good advice, or at least like I think John Yonfook, he has Banner Bear. He had like a shitload of savings, so that's also an option if you have
Hmm.
them. Don't have them, so for me,
That
it's
helps.
definitely one. How do you decide which idea to pick? Because like I right now am in a position in my life where I have way too many ideas for the amount
hmm
of time I have. And like 2 years ago, when I was a beginning engineer, I was like, how can you have so many ideas? It's impossible. Like, oh, just build them. Now I understand. How do you
Hmm.
pick which ideas are good and which ideas you want to try?
I mean, there's obviously no definite easy answer to this, but one thing that I think people should do more, and I don't hear anyone speaking about, to be honest with you, is using a keyword tool just to begin with. So, for anyone who doesn't know about keyword tools, it allows you to see what people are searching for on Google, essentially. So, there's Ahrefs and there's SEMrush. These are the two major ones. And these tools are used for like SEO, digital marketing, people, that kind of thing. But if you go into these tools, you can just type in, for example, for me, it would be 4-day week jobs. And you could just see, is anyone searching for it? How many people are searching for it? Where are they based? Yada, yada, yada. And you can just at least get a taste of, is it a thing or is it something that you've just thought about that no one else thinks about? that gets that out of the way. Then if people are searching for it, and hopefully there's maybe a few hundred or a few thousand even searching for it per month, then you can just like put something really simple together. I always think that just putting a landing page that just has an enter your email and it just describes what it's going to be. It doesn't need to be the thing. You can just literally launch something that doesn't exist yet. It's like a pre-launch, and then just see if people sign up to it. It's going to save you a lot of time, I think, or it's going to save whoever's doing this a lot of time to just validate that people actually want it. And it's another way you can do it as well, actually, which is kind of cheeky. I've heard people doing this. Essentially, you just go and you buy ads, spend maybe a few $100s of Facebook ads, drive people to your landing page of the product that doesn't even exist yet, and just see if any of these people that came from the ads sign up. Again, it's going to save you so much time, because most of my failures in the past, I've worked for months, if not years, and could have skipped all these steps out with a little bit of
This is
that.
actually a question that I was going to ask you. How do you even bring traffic to the pre-launch page? Ads is
Mm.
a good one. I know, like, I actually know somebody right now. I'm not going to name them. I might bring them on the show in the future. They are a successful non-technical person that has done two startups that have been funded, both of them. And one of them, he exited like a few years ago. One of them he's running right now. And this is the same way he validates his ideas. He's like, I have 5 ideas. I'm going to put up these landing pages, spend X amount of dollars on ads,
Hmm.
and whichever gets the most, that's what I'm going to build. And
Yeah.
it works because he's making money and he's successful.
I think that I've made all the mistakes that everyone else has. When you start out, you're walking down the street one day and some idea pops into your head and you're like, oh, that'd be a good thing to do. You go home and you end up spending 3 months on it.
Yeah,
You'll never launch it. You eventually launch it and then you realize no one acts it, or I've been there so many times. So just cutting those steps out. It
I've been
feels
there.
wrong a little bit, but it helps. Just send traffic to the site and see if they like.
So aside from ads, how do you bring traffic to a pre-launch page?
So for me as well, to be honest with you, I mean, I've got a small audience on Twitter, nothing massive, about 11,000. And do you know what I've noticed? See if you just have your link in the bio, people come every single day. They just click your link in the bio. That's another kind of way. Apart from that, I mean, ads is obviously quick win. You pay, you get traffic. The other one that I focus a lot on is SEO, and that's worked out really well for me. Essentially, it boils down to creating blog posts for topics that people search for. That's pretty much 90% of the whole thing. And the way that you find out if they search for it, they just you use the tools that I was mentioning, Ahrefs, SEMrush. That's a very watered down, quick way of describing it, but that would be another way to bring traffic. But with SEO, it takes time, so it's not really maybe the most suitable for validating. I would just say social media, tweeting, ads, link in bio, that kind of thing. Indie hackers, all the rest of them, Reddit. You can just spam it about to begin with.
Reddit is powerful. I only really discovered Reddit like a year ago. It's
Hmm.
crazy powerful. There's a
It's
ton of
crazy. It's also quite a toxic community at times, I feel. If you're not one of them, you can quickly get destroyed. But anyway.
So, like, how do you decide when to shut down or pivot a project? Let's say you do a pre-launch, you get X amount of what's like the criteria where you say, you know what, I'm gonna try this. That's one thing. And the
Hmm.
second thing is once you actually start building it and you start promoting it more, maybe it doesn't grow as expected from the pre-launch page. How do you decide to shut it down?
I mean, that's a difficult one that I don't really have any like proper framework answer type thing. But I mean, I think you get a feel for it eventually when you do this long enough. You get a feel for, yes, people, like I had one startup, for example, that I did that was my kind of biggest one yet, the biggest failure, I guess, because, there was 3 years of time put into it. There was me, a co-founder, the university owned some of it, yada, yada, yada. And, see if I had known more about just like retention metrics and that kind of thing, people signing up to your app and then never coming back. That's not a good sign. That's really not a good sign. So I'd be monitoring that. I would just be seeing if people actually sign up, for a start. I mean, it's a funnel when you think about it. They discover you, they have some interest, they eventually sign up, but then do they come back? So yeah, I don't think there's like a total correct answer for this. I know that there's some like metrics on product market fit that I've heard about recently, where it's like if you send out a survey to your users, do more than like 80% of them say that they couldn't live without your app type thing. I'm not wording that perfectly, but that's another way that people kind of determine if they have product market fit. But
Since we're both watchers of MFM, they actually have two examples that just spring to my mind right now
mhm.
of how to figure out if your thing is actually getting engagement. One of them is like, I remember they used to give this example about how Facebook back in the day when it was still young, they had like users stay for hours and hours on the
Mm.
app. And another thing that they sometimes mentioned is how Sam, he sometimes emails his list just asking, hey, just send me a picture of whatever, just stupid stuff. But it's like if you have 1,000 followers and 10 of them or 50 of them actually take time out of their day to do
Mm.
something like that for you, which it might be silly, it probably means they care about you. They are real fans.
Yeah. Do you know what's funny actually? When I listened to that podcast and when Sam was saying that, I was thinking, yeah, I think I know the real reason you do that. And the real reason, in my opinion, is he wants to make sure that his open rate on his newsletter gets higher and higher. If people reply to your newsletter, the email servers, they like that. They're going to make sure that your email goes into the primary tab, all that sort of thing. So I think there's some sneaky stuff going on there. But,
Oh,
c'est la vie. And what was the first one you
that's
said
tough.
again? Uh,
How do you decide if the pre-launch was successful?
no, no, no. You said something about Shan
Oh,
on my first million before that. I can't even remember.
Facebook example,
Yeah,
where
Facebook.
the
Yeah.
users spend hours and hours and hours on
So
the page.
they choose to monitor daily active users, which is kind of insane. The amount of people that use your app every day, that's when you know you have product market fit. That's very, very difficult to achieve.
I know you are busy, so I have two more questions before
That's all
we
right.
start to wrap up. And they are very AI focused. AI is all the
Mm-hmm.
rage right now. Some of us are afraid that we're going to lose our jobs. Let's
Yeah.
let's not think about that. But my questions are: do you use AI for content?
I do a little bit. So, just a bit of background. I outsource most of my content for my blog to an agency. So they might use a little bit. I don't know. I'm sure they're using some to some extent. I should say I'm not using AI for like tweets or anything like that. Or although I have seen people do that. Recently. So yeah, I mean, to the AI point, it's going to change everything. I know people want it to not change everything, but it is going to change everything. I'm sorry to say that to people. I mean, when you think about it from an SEO point of view, even a search engine it's a marketplace, right? You have people writing the content and you have people wanting the content, and it's going to change both sides. It's going to change the writing. People are going to use it, AI writing tools, etc. But also from the kind of search engine point of view, like Google's perspective, they can also give better answers
Yeah,
using AI. So that's going to change everything as well. It's a
this was
crazy
actually
world.
one of the this was and this was one of the questions that somebody
Oh,
asked
was
on
it?
Twitter. Asked
Oh,
you
yeah, yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
how do you think AI will influence SEO?
I mean, there's a few aspects for it. I don't think it's doomsday. I don't think it's like going to like wipe out all of SEO. And the reason I think that is AI, as in ChatGPT, etc. They are really good at some types of problems. Like for example, what is the capital of France, or when is the best time to go to Spain? Yada yada. These kind of informational queries where there is kind of one right answer. It's France, it's whatever the question is. I think if you've got a website that's dedicated to how to make a lasagna, how to, all these kind of informational queries, I think your website, I'm sorry to say, is going to get crushed because Google is probably going to be able to write these queries, answer these queries much better using things like ChatGPT. However, that's only one part of the search queries, the informational. You've got navigational queries, you want to get to a different website, or you've got ones with buying intent, reviews, or you want to buy some product. ChatGPT is not going to touch these. If you type in ChatGPT, top 10 microphones for podcasting, it's not really going to give you the best answer. Really, you're more likely, I think anyway, to see websites that are like review websites like which.com, etc. People that have actually went and used the product and they can give an answer on it. And also just, those commercial intent queries, you're looking to buy the actual podcast. That's not going to be the top result. ChatGPT is not going to be the top result for these kind of buy Yeti microphone or whatever it is. It's going to be a website.
Yeah.
So SEO is not going to die anytime soon, but it is going to change a chunk of it. I mean, that's no denying. I think it'd be interesting to see how it
In
plays
a
out.
sense, it might remove a lot of the bullshit SEO optimized posts. I think it might remove,
100%.
and we
Yeah.
might even get better content. Have you tried copy.ai?
I've used a lot of them, yeah. Jasper, copy.ai. I use ChatGPT like every day now.
Wow, I've
are
been
you
playing last week with copy AI, and
how do you find it out of interest? Do you quite like it? Or are you using it for writing adverts or just playing
I
about?
I have written one tweet and posted it with it.
Nice.
That's just one, but I have.
It's fine, no problem. I don't judge.
And I think I've written a YouTube video clip description for with it as well, and I've posted that as well. Like, so, still a small portion of what I put out,
So useful though, right?
but it's crazy.
Oh yeah, it saves
You
so
might
much
still need
time.
to adapt it,
Mhm.
but it's still good.
Honestly, I mean, I'm using, okay, ChatGPT is not copy.ai, excuse me, but it's the same technology, right? I am using it for flipping everything. Honestly, I'm just looking through some of my recent queries. Like, I have got an old laptop that I reformatted and I want to set up SSH. I am so rubbish with these things. I've done it a million times. I still can't remember all the steps to set up Git and SSH. So I just asked it, a new MacBook, how do I set up all these things? It just tells me every command perfectly. So there's that. I've got one here. Should my 13-month-old baby be having one nap or two naps per day? Just I'm using it for everything. It's insane. So yeah,
Crazy.
we're going into a whole
Really,
new world.
yeah. It's some jobs may be lost. And I one question that I haven't written down in my outline, but I would like to pick your brain on. Do you think this is going to tip the scale of supply and demand of software engineering as a job, as a market?
Oh, that's the tricky one, right? I mean, I'm going to give a
Well,
cop out answer. I don't. Mhm.
have you tried GitHub Copilot first of all?
Yes, it's insane.
Now,
Yeah.
now answer.
So, I mean, I think that humans will be in the loop for a long time, to be honest with you. I don't think it's going to wipe out. I don't think you're going to get like a CEO of a company typing into some chat GPT thing, create me an app that does whatever they want it to do. It's just too complicated. There's a lot of moving parts, there's security issues. And also, I think companies just want to know what's going on behind the scenes in case anything bad is
Yeah,
potentially happening. So there's that aspect to it. I think in the meantime, and I think like honestly, the next 10, 20 years, I'm not that worried. It's going to be just making productivity improve. It's going to be making development much easier. When I look at my development speed these days, I'm not even joking when I say I am twice as fast a developer as I was like even a year ago. It's just so much easier. I'm doing stuff in Next.js. I've never done Next.js, and it's just writing out half of the code for me, and it's like I'm fine with it.
insane. It's insane.
It's insane.
That's why I'm curious, because I don't think it's going to replace engineers entirely, but I am wondering if AI productivity increases coupled with the fact that we are very, very well connected now as a world, the
Hmm.
internet, and people are more open to remote jobs. I am wondering if like super high salaries for engineers are more or less a thing of the past.
So I mean, there's still
And I'm,
demand for there's still demand for engineers. So I think the salaries will still remain kind of high, but I do think that there's going to be like a salary normalization across the world. I don't think you can have like Silicon Valley salaries and then India or kind of other countries with much lower average salary. It's just not going to work out that way, I don't think, because if you're in Silicon Valley, why would you pay $300,000 for a software engineer when you can get just as a talented engineer for much less. I think that the lower salaries will increase and the higher salaries will decrease, and there'll be a little bit less of a, it's just crazy the difference in salary across the
Yeah,
world at the moment. I think remote, and
yeah,
that's all because of remote work. I think it's going to change a lot.
it is changing a lot because I have friends who in Romania work as engineers for a Romanian company, and they don't get my salary and they don't get
Mm.
my perks, and some of them are much smarter than me, much more experienced than me.
Why do they?
And
Why
I
do they not
tell
work?
them,
You work for a U.S.
I
company, right? Is that right?
I
Or
work for, yes, it's practically Switzerland, but yeah, I work for
mm.
external. And I always tell my friends in Romania, stop this. No, go work for external companies. Don't do this.
Yeah.
Don't put up with this. To wrap this up, I was wondering if you would have any advice for young Phil, but with the caveat of young Phil starting out today
Hmm.
in
Okay.
2023.
What would I do? First of all, I would say I would only do B2B projects. If we're talking about indie hacking, right? Let's say we are B2B. I wouldn't touch like B2C with a barge pole, to be honest with you. I think the reason is it's just so much more difficult if you're going to make the next social network or something that's targeting teenagers, whatever it is. Good luck. It is damn hard, damn hard. So I would look to just focus on a problem that is going to be selling to businesses. And also with businesses, they already have budget allocated. I think I would do that as well, actually. Pick a problem where they already have a budget. So I've done hiring. Obviously there's a hiring budget for every company. There's marketing budgets, there's X, Y, and Z. I'd look to pick something that, it's probably already a problem that they're paying for. I think that makes it easier. It's much more difficult to sell an app where they don't really have anything already, even if it's just spreadsheets. If they're not, if it's like some fancy tool that's, I don't know, just something they've not even thought of before, that's a hard sell. But if it's improving their talent pipeline or reducing the amount of time it takes to hire someone or whatever it is, I think just pick something that they're already doing or potentially already paying for. And yeah, I would just do what I was speaking about earlier, build something small, fast. I have a rule personally. I wouldn't spend more than 1 month on a project without launching it because, I'm taking too much of a risk there. Anything more than a month and I might be disappointed when I launch. So just act fast and pick B2B personally.
B2B sounds
Yeah.
good. I was also thinking, what do you think about like building stuff for dev, for like in devs in teams? Because
Mm.
like in my mind, if you can build something that saves 10 dev hours from a team,
Mm-hmm.
that's on a minimum $500 of time for
Mm-hmm.
that team. And on a maximum, it could be even a few thousand, depending
Yeah.
on sort of stuff they're building. I
There's
think those
actually
two are also powerful. Go ahead.
I think there's like pros and cons to it, because with developers, obviously the money aspect is high, but they are also very. I'm a developer also, so I'm speaking on behalf, I guess. But developers are quite fussy, and if you show them something, they're always thinking, I could code this in a week. I could do this in a week. So it's a hard sell with developers. So you have pros and cons. I think it's easier to maybe not personally. I've thought about this a lot actually because I have a small audience on Twitter that is mostly developers. And sometimes I think I should probably build something just for developers. But then I'm also intimidated just by hacker
Yeah.
news and the wrath.
Yeah, they are a bit crazy. It's insane to me. I've seen people say, for example, with GitHub Copilot, no, $50, that's a ton. Why would you do that?
Jeez.
No. And I'm like, bro, $50, that's just if it saves just an hour a month, that's it.
Exactly. It's insane, right? People like when ChatGPT came out, which is like, to me, in my opinion, it's the most incredible piece of software, in my opinion, that maybe has ever been created. I think it's just unbelievable. And it's launched and the people go, $15 a month or whatever the hell. Like, come on. Like, that is a hard, like, you've got no chance if you have that mentality. Anyway.
It's crazy. Anything you want to shill to wrap it up?
Always chilling. So it would just be 4dayweek.io. That's the job board. On Twitter, I have the worst Twitter handle ever. I won't go into it, but long story short, it's Philostar. And the reason it's Philostar is it's meant to be like Ringo Starr from the Beatles, but I actually misspelled his last name because he has two R's. But anyway, Philostar. But yeah, you can find me there.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Alex. It's been great.